Number 10. Maserati Biturbo, 1981 to 1994. We start with a car that had every reason to succeed and found a way not to. The Maserati Biturbo arrived in 1981 carrying genuine technical ambition, a twin turbocharged engine, 3 valves per cylinder, and a price point designed to bring the Maserati name to a wider market. The engineering concept was sound. The execution was not. Build quality was a persistent problem throughout the production run, and owners weren't just inconvenienced. They were regularly facing repair bills on a car that was supposed to represent Italian luxury engineering at its finest. Much of the bodywork and final assembly was outsourced, and the inconsistency showed. Turbos ran hot. Electrical systems failed. Early engines required strict and expensive maintenance schedules to avoid serious damage. And when that maintenance was delayed, the consequences were costly. By the mid-1980s, the Biturbo had developed a well-documented reputation for unreliability that pushed buyers away and damaged Maserati's standing in the market for years. Number 9. Amphicar 770, 1961 to 1968. The Amphicar 770 was built in West Germany and sold as a vehicle that could operate both on roads and on water. The concept attracted genuine curiosity, and on paper the numbers seemed reasonable. 7 knots on water, 70 miles per hour on land. In practice, both figures represented the ceiling of what the car could do under ideal conditions, not what drivers typically experienced. On the road, a 1,147 cubic centimeter engine producing 38 horsepower made highway travel slow and loud. On the water, B7 knots put it among the slower recreational watercraft of the era. A determined rower could close the gap. The Amphicar was designed with water-resistant seals, but a bilge pump was required in regular use to manage water that entered the hull, which tells you something about how those seals performed over time. Steering on water was handled by the front wheels, making directional control imprecise in anything beyond calm conditions. Around 4,000 units were built before production ended in 1968. Number 8. DeLorean DMC-12, 1981 to 1983. The DeLorean DMC-12 is one of the most recognizable cars ever built. And for most people, that recognition comes entirely from its appearance in the Back to the Future films. The stainless steel body and gull-wing doors created an image that has lasted 4 decades. The experience of actually owning one was considerably less cinematic. The original target price was around $12,000. By the time the car reached production, it had more than doubled to approximately $25,000. The DMC-12 was powered by a 2.85-liter PRV V6, producing around 130 horsepower, which translated to a 0 to 60 time of approximately 8.8 seconds. For a car built around an image of speed and futurism, that performance left buyers feeling the gap between what the car looked like and what it actually did. Build quality varied across the production run, partly due to the limited experience of the workforce at the newly established Northern Ireland factory. The company filed for bankruptcy in late 1982. Number 7. Ford Maverick, 1970 to 1977. The Ford Maverick launched in 1970 as an entry-level compact built to a tight budget, and in its first year, it sold over 400,000 units. For a brief moment, it looked like Ford had found the formula. What they had actually built was a car whose limitations became clearer the longer people owned it. Corrosion was the Maverick's most consistent failure. The car used minimal rust proofing, and in regions with road salt or sustained humidity, rust appeared in floor pans, wheel arches, and rocker panels within just a few years, turning a car that looked reasonable at purchase into something that felt much older, much sooner. Consumer reports and owner surveys from the period flagged it repeatedly. The standard inline-6 engine was functional but unrefined, and the optional V8, while more powerful, added heat the cooling system struggled to handle in some configurations. The rear suspension used a single leaf spring per side, an economical design that contributed to handling contemporary reviewers described as vague and imprecise. Number 6. Hummer H2, 2002 to 2009. The Hummer H2 was sold on the strength of its image, a consumer vehicle built to look like it belonged somewhere more demanding than a suburban parking lot. At launch, it was priced around $53,000. It used a standard GMT 800 truck platform, the same underpinning found in the Chevrolet Tahoe, rather than the serious off-road hardware of the original military-derived H1. Fuel economy came in at approximately 9 to 10 miles per gallon in combined driving, placing it among the least efficient passenger vehicles on the American market, and owners felt that at the pump every single time. Interior quality drew criticism from automotive journalists who found the cabin appointments difficult to justify at the price. The turning radius was wide enough to make urban driving genuinely inconvenient, and parking required planning that most vehicles of the era simply didn't demand. Sales peaked in 2002 and declined steadily as fuel prices climbed through the mid-2000s. GM discontinued the Hummer brand in 2010. Number 5. Reliant Robin MK1, 1973 to 1981. The Reliant Robin was a three-wheeled microcar built in Tamworth, England, and it served a genuine purpose. In the United Kingdom, three-wheelers could be driven on a motorcycle license, which lowered both the cost and the minimum age for drivers. Practical advantages that gave the Robin a real and loyal customer base in communities where an affordable runabout was more important than performance. The car produced 32 brake horsepower and had a top speed of around 85 miles per hour. Its three-wheel configuration, with a single wheel at the front, produced a higher center of gravity than a conventional car, and at speed, through corners, that margin was narrow. This became widely known after a Top Gear segment in which Jeremy Clarkson drove a Robin, and it repeatedly rolled. Clarkson later confirmed the car had been modified to make rolling more likely, which matters. But the underlying handling characteristic that made the modification effective was real. Number 4. Lexus SC 430, 2001 to 2010. The Lexus SC 430 was a two-door luxury convertible priced at approximately $61,000. It came with a 4.3-liter V8 producing around 288 horsepower, a retractable hardtop, the first convertible Lexus had produced, and a well-appointed interior. On paper, it had the credentials. Behind the wheel, it consistently disappointed the buyers it was aimed at. Automotive journalists across multiple publications described the handling as soft and disengaged for a car positioned against European sports convertibles, competent in a straight line, uninvolving everywhere else. The rear seating was minimal. Consumer reliability data was generally acceptable, which made the disappointment more specific. The SC 430 didn't break down. It just never delivered the driving experience its price and positioning implied. Buyers who paid $60,000 for a Lexus convertible and wanted engagement walked away feeling they had bought something that looked the part but didn't play it. Number 3. Chevrolet Vega, 1971 to 1977. The Chevrolet Vega was GM's response to the growing share that small imported cars were taking in the American market. The development timeline was approximately 2 years from concept to production. Fast by any standard, and the pressure showed in what reached customers. The 2.3-liter aluminum block engine was technically ambitious. It used an aluminum cylinder bore without iron liners, a design that required precise lubrication to prevent premature wear. In practice, owners reported oil consumption problems, overheating, and cylinder wall wear that could appear well before the car had accumulated high mileage. Failures that were expensive to address and hard to explain to buyers who had purchased a brand new car in good faith. In 1972, approximately 500,000 Vegas were recalled for rear axle and throttle problems, one of the larger recalls in American automotive history at the time. Rust appeared early in the lower body panels. The Vega's technical failures were real, and they were experienced by real people who had trusted GM's product at a moment when GM had prioritized speed to market over readiness. Number 2. Yugo GV, 1985 to 1992. The Yugo GV entered the American market in 1985 at a base price of $3,990, the least expensive new car available in the United States at the time, and a figure that represented a genuine attempt to offer mobility to buyers who had been priced out of everything else. It was produced by Zastava in Yugoslavia, mechanically derived from a Fiat 127 platform, and powered by a 1.1-liter engine producing approximately 55 horsepower. Build quality was inconsistent, and owner complaints were well documented. Electrical issues, carburetor problems, and interior fit and finish that varied between units in ways that should not have varied at all. The Yugo used a timing belt-driven interference engine, meaning a snapped belt without timely replacement could cause serious internal damage. That maintenance requirement was not unique to the Yugo, but at a price point that attracted buyers with limited budgets. The cost of that repair landed harder than it would have on the owner of a more expensive car. Number 1. Ford Pinto, 1971 to 1980. The Ford Pinto was launched in 1971 as a subcompact built to compete with the growing wave of imports entering the American market. It sold in significant numbers and by most conventional measures was a commercial success. The engineering issue that defines its legacy was the placement of the fuel tank. In the Pinto's design, the tank sat between the rear bumper and the rear axle with limited structural protection in a rear-end collision. Testing, both internal to Ford and later independent, showed that in certain impact scenarios, the tank could be punctured and fuel could ignite. A cost-benefit analysis produced within Ford, later made public through litigation and widely referred to as the Grimshaw Memo, compared the estimated cost of a design modification against the projected cost of legal settlements related to injuries and fatalities. That document became central to multiple civil lawsuits and to the public understanding of how the decision was made. Ford faced a criminal charge of reckless homicide in Indiana in 1978 following a fatal accident, one of the first times a major American corporation had faced criminal prosecution over a product design decision. The case resulted in acquittal. The civil litigation produced significant judgments. The memo remained in the public record.